What's up, you bastards?
Are we going?
Yeah. I'm just fixing my chair.
Are we live?
Yeah, we're live. Dude, damn it. Trying to,
Are you okay?
I'm trying to get my chair.
God.
I'm trying to get up to the microphone.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Friday. Dominic's the lead, the end of another week.
Yes.
How are you doing, my friend?
I am fantastic. The
That's
vibe's all-time high right now.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why. It's just a lot going on. Okay?
It's a lot.
But great fights to preview. Again, we're not taking no slander. So if you're here to slander UFC 258, we want you to keep listening.
So,
but I was gonna say hop off, but we want to.
So I was gonna. I'll be honest.
Okay.
I was gonna do what I did for 255, where I said we're not gonna take it.
And you said you were gonna Stockton slap
But,
somebody.
Yeah. I threatened.
Take it
I threatened assault.
Be easy.
However,
Be easy.
now I'm gonna say we're not gonna take it, but I get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now I will say, since the previous episode where we mentioned you shouldn't slander the card, we lost a pretty important fight on the card.
My second most intriguing fight, Jimmy Rivera versus Pedro Munoz, which we'll talk about in the news segment.
But I'll be damned if we don't tell you everything you need to know about every fighter on this main card.
Yeah, so we have our work cut out for us here,
Yes.
but I'm hoping by the end of this you all will be excited for UFC 258. Actually, so much so I guarantee it. I guarantee based on our preview here, we are going to get you invested and interested in all of these fights that we're breaking down.
A below average Joe's guarantee.
Mm-hmm. I don't do it very often. I don't call my shot, but I'm like Babe Ruth. I'm pointing towards the stands.
I love it.
And you know what? There's a reason why I'm feeling so confident today.
Why is that?
Y'all notice just the audio? Does it sound a little extra crispy?
And they're probably like, no, wait a damn second. They've been sounding crispier these past couple weeks, but now it's even more.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Well, I'll tell you, Dom. So, me and you, we just got back from a nice dinner.
Shoo, and a just business meeting.
Yeah.
Life meeting.
All the above.
Everything. 3.5 hours.
A walk down memory lane.
B-Dubs wasn't ready.
No, we were there for about 3.5 hours eating with our good friend.
Long-time supporter. Day one supporter.
Tyler. The one who's left the voice message.
Yeah.
Always been supporting us. And he said he had a surprise for us, a gift for us for the podcast. So we go there not knowing. And he says, well,
here it is.
You see I'm empty-handed. But that's because it's in my car.
Oh, we're like, oh.
And then he says that he got us a new mic.
We said what? Come again?
And not only was it just any new mic, this is
top-notch stuff here. Top-notch.
You could do curls with this thing.
It is quite heavy.
Yeah.
A little heavy.
It's a big boy.
Yeah, so we're going to start singing on the side with this as well.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
Yeah.
We'll spare you.
Yeah, so shout out to Tyler.
You're the man.
Again, I'm going to give him a slight plug.
Do it right now, yeah.
Go to tylerporterbooks.com.
Yeah, tell him.
To support him, as he is an independent author. He writes some fantastic novels.
Thrillers, suspenseful.
The shit that gives you goosebumps on your arms. The shit that makes you be checking your windows at night. You don't want to leave a light off because you're like, is there someone in the corner there?
I get terrified, quite frankly.
Tyler writes that kind of stuff, and I can attest that it's fantastic.
With one coming on the works.
Yeah, there's one on the horizon, a one-off. He's been very big into writing series, and he's doing the one-off. I'll be honest, I'm not much of a reader. I think the last book I had read before Love, Before Law, his first novel, was The Great Gatsby, my sophomore year of high school.
Oh, damn. That's another podcast.
Is it?
Big fan of that book.
Okay, well,
anyway.
I enjoyed it, but I didn't read another one after until Love, Before Law. So, shout out to him. Go to tylerporterbooks.com.
Mystic P.
All the information you need to know is on there about all of his books, about where you can get them. You can get audiobooks or the
Real Deal McGill.
I was gonna say I almost said a hardback, but like
paperback.
Yeah,
hardcover
paperbacks. Yeah, we're terrible with this shit.
Yeah,
but go up there, support him, support an independent author, a guy who has done so much for us, and we just wanted to give him a little plug here at the top.
Yeah, cozy on up next to a fire, cup of Joe, some hot cocoa, and read you some spooky stories.
Okay.
All right.
Anyways.
Tyler, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And now to the point of this podcast. We're previewing UFC 258.
Yes.
And the headliner is obviously the fight that's going to intrigue the majority of people.
A long anticipated title.
And I will actually say that this whole card's kind of going under the radar, and I get it, especially after the loss of Rivera and Munoz.
Right.
But this main event itself is kind of going under the radar because Kamaru Usman, who's the dominant welterweight champion, really, I mean, the Colby Covington fight was a war, but besides that, like, he
hasn't been
dominated He's really he dominated his way to the title. He dominated Woodley for the title.
Yeah.
He dominated Masvidal on Fight Island last summer. The guy's looked incredible. He's looked basically flawless.
Yes. Yeah.
But Gilbert Burns is, dare I say, and the Colby fight was razor thin before he stopped it in the 5th round. His toughest matchup to date.
100%.
These guys trained together for years.
Yes.
Now, Usman has moved on to a new gym.
This is true.
So they're not training together anymore, obviously. But still, the point remains that these guys know everything about each other.
And that really is the intriguing factor.
It adds to the intrigue, but even stylistically, I think Gilbert Burns offers a lot that Usman's going to have to make up for. And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But
there's something really fun to point out about that training camp later when we break down the fight. But.
Awesome. But before we get to that, we got to start with the news.
The news.
We're starting on a bit of a downer here.
Yeah, so, for like the 18th time.
Yeah, March 13th, originally scheduled to be that headlining bout. It was the 3rd time, I think, they've had to reschedule it.
Yep.
Khamzat Chimaev facing Leon Edwards, one of the most intriguing matchups in this division. Khamzat's out.
Again.
He's out again.
Yeah.
Apparently the COVID diagnosis he had from the 2nd time they dropped the fight.
Yeah.
Apparently he still is just not recovered.
Lingering health
issues. And he's out now. And now Leon Edwards doesn't have a dance partner for March 13th. So we'll start by just saying that this is disappointing, right?
Yeah, it sucks.
And I'm not quite sure that they rebooked this fight. Because here's the problem is Khamzat made a name for himself by being this guy who fought 3 times in, 2 months?
Yeah, like 60 days.
Yeah, he fought twice in
9
days.
Yeah.
The fastest turnaround in UFC history. He really made a name for himself for his activity right in that short time frame. But now we're going on, 6 months since we last saw him?
Yeah, I believe so.
And you got to think that if they were to turn around and rebook him, it won't be till about May.
Yeah, it'll be almost a year.
And that's if these lingering COVID problems are not going to hinder him.
And then we're talking almost 2 years since Leon fought.
Yeah, so I have a hard time believing that they just pushed this fight off again.
I'd get Leon in there.
And there's one guy who's sticking out right now.
And it makes sense.
That's because he I don't want to say called him out on Twitter, but he threw his name in the hat.
The nicest mother
fucker.
Yes.
Make me say it. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He has offered to do the fight with Leon. Leon had turned down this fight in the past.
It's time to accept it.
I think it's time to accept it, man. You just got to get in there, right?
Win and you get a title, I think. Maybe. Anyway, Leon, I don't know how big he is on it, but for Wonderboy, it's the fight that makes the most sense for him.
I really think the winner of this fight, I don't want to say they're next for the belt, because I think that if Colby and Masvidal
it all depends on that.
Fight, then I would say that would be next. I will say Khamzat, for the time being, has pretty much just been, it's unfortunate because it's COVID, and it's so unpredictable still. But it appears that is basically removed him from any title conversation. I mean, this guy was looked at as 1 win away. If he beat Leon Edwards,
title,
But now he might be fighting next. Like, who knows who he's going to fight next now? Maybe you give him a guy like Neil Magny or Michael Chiesa or someone. Good fighters. But
if they hold out and try to do this fight again, I'll be shocked. I'll put it that way.
I just think you can't. I just don't think for Leon.
If you're Leon,
I was a big proponent of Leon to take this fight. But it's getting to a point where it's becoming too long for him being inactive.
Yep, I agree.
You just got to get in there. And I think the fight with Stephen Thompson's a good fight for him.
That's an intriguing fight.
It is.
That's fun.
It really is. Because both are going to... I mean, it's basically going to be a stand-up fight.
Yep. Very technical.
And Stephen Thompson is a tough man to read on the feet. But Leon Edwards is a great boxer as well.
Yeah.
And I think that Leon Edwards has more power... And I would be very interested to see if he could maybe land that shot kind of like Tyron did or like Darren Till did. Because Wonderboy's chin has at least at times, or Anthony Pettis, I should say, that's the one who knocked him out, at times has shown maybe a soft spot or two. Not as much as maybe some guys, but it's definitely been apparent that if he gets hit clean enough, he will be hurt bad.
Precisely.
So I'm that's the fight I'm hoping for. I'm really disappointed for Khamzat because I really think that this is going to set him back quite a bit. Maybe this is the recency bias because this is hot off the presses.
This just happened.
But right now it just feels like the momentum's lost.
It's unfortunate,
because think of how big it was when he had that really quick turnaround and then he fought a third time. But now you look ahead and you go, well, Kevin Holland kind of did that, but did it better more times. Other guys like Bobby Green were very active. Like, it kind of feels like really being active in 2020 is kind of
a common occurrence.
It really was. So I don't know what the plans are for him. I'm sure Dana still wants to kind of get him up there. He's still technically ranked 15th, so I'm sure he'll get a top 10 next, but I have a hard time believing he's going to be fighting Leon again.
Yeah, I'd be shocked. I really would. Unfortunate, but I'm curious to see now what will headline that fight night. Because, again, the month of March, as we've said many times, is unbelievable. This, of course, was sandwiched in between the two pay-per-views, so we'll see what they do. There's still a month, so there is time. It's better than being 2 weeks or a week out, so I'm curious to see what will happen.
Yeah. Moving on. April 24th, we start out on another somber note. We lose it wasn't the main event, but a fight on this card.
Definitely main card.
This is a pay-per-view.
This is pay-per-view.
UFC 261, definitely not the main event, but a big fight at light heavyweight. Jimmy Crute, probably the number one prospect in the light heavyweight division.
Yep.
And he was going up against the former probably number one prospect in the light heavyweight division, Johnny Walker. A very intriguing fight. However, Johnny Walker suffers an injury.
Yep.
He is now out. But
Jimmy Crute gets a bigger name.
Yeah.
And a bigger spotlight. I mean, this guy's higher ranked and everything.
And I will even go as far to say I think this fight's even more intriguing.
This is fun.
Anthony Lionheart Smith.
Listen, is there anyone out there that doesn't like Anthony Smith?
There are some people.
They need to stop.
I don't know why. I don't know where this guy... I don't know who Anthony Smith, beat up or, pissed on or whatever that made people... There's some people that just don't like that guy.
And, he took the last fight on short notice as well with Devin Clark. That one was very short notice. And we were like, maybe he shouldn't. We're not big on the Anthony Smith taking short notice. But then he jumps in and takes us on Jimmy Crute here. But it is 2 months out. So it's time to still put together a pretty decent camp. And this fight, very intriguing. The lone loss on Jimmy's record came via submission. Mm-hmm. Anthony Smith has to be the most underrated submission artist in the UFC.
Look no further than his last main event with Devin Clark.
Yeah. So, honestly, if this fight goes to the ground, going to be very interesting. If it's on the feet, Anthony can throw hands, but Jimmy Crute on the feet, he's a different animal. This is fun.
No, I'm very excited for this. Instead of having...
I like this fight better. I do.
I am still a Johnny Walker fan.
Yeah.
And I'm a Jimmy Crute fan as well, and obviously Anthony Smith. There's not many guys I'm not a fan of who fight in this sport, but Johnny Walker was a guy I really believed in. He's had some setbacks, but he looked good. He had the knockout with Ryan Spann, which I don't know really if it really answered any of my questions about him.
Well, I love the round though.
Yeah, what a round. However, I just like the matchmaking here better. I think.
Yeah.
Jimmy Crute still.
This is a big step for Jimmy.
He's got a lot to prove. I mean, I'm pretty sure wasn't his last fight against Modestas Bukauskas?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken.
So
I'm pulling it up.
he's really yet to make that statement win to show that that top 10 will be warranted for him. And a fight with Anthony Smith, I think, proves that even more than whenever Johnny Walker, because Johnny Walker's kind of staying in his place mostly due to the hype he had before. Anthony Smith is a guy who fought for the belt. He earned that title shot and has had big wins since that kind of skid he went on to show that he is a top 10 light heavyweight in the world.
It's crazy because Jimmy's 12th, so Anthony's number 6. So let's say Jimmy wins. he's catapulted into top 10. He's already a huge prospect. The UFC loves him. And everybody in the MMA community seems to be high on Jimmy Crute. If he beats Anthony Smith, he could technically be one win away. Already. He really could be, depending on who that next opponent could be.
Light heavyweight is not a super stacked division.
Yeah.
However, I think the only question about that, he could still be one fight away. But Israel Adesanya coming up to take that belt, there's a lot of questions about what he might do next. Will he go up to heavyweight? Will he stick around at light heavyweight for a bit? There's a lot unknown, and obviously he has to beat Jan Blachowicz first.
Yeah, man. And now Anthony, of course, on his side, has to fend off another up-and-coming prospect.
I appreciate Anthony Smith's decision making. You know, the fight with Devin Clark was very risky. Now you have another risky fight here, but I think it's smart for him after those 2 back-to-back tough losses to guys that were Glover Teixeira, who probably should be fighting for the belt right now, and then he lost to
Rakic.
Yeah, Alexander Rakic. Thank you.
I had to.
I know. And Rakic is a guy who's in that top 5 and just looked like he was outclassed in that one.
Yep.
So I appreciate that he's kind of taken a step back again, even though Jimmy Crute is a killer.
Yeah, big name.
It's more of a step back in terms of rankings, but I'm not sure if it's so much of a step back from a guy like Rakic.
I mean, this fight's bigger than the Clark fight, name-wise, for sure.
So it's a step up in that regard, but it's still... It's not like he beat Devin Clark and goes, all right, I want a top 5 next.
Yeah, man.
And I think good on him for that. I don't think that's warranted. I think you still fight a guy right outside the top 10.
He's going to work back to it, yeah.
So good on him. Love Anthony Smith for that. And hopefully that fight stays together. UFC 261 starting to come together quite a bit.
And then 1 week later.
May 1st. So May, we're finally starting to get some fight announcements. This was originally going to be our main event. What was this?
2 weeks, February 27th.
Yep. Dominic Reyes versus Yuri Prochazka. It is now the main event of the May 1st card. So our very first main event in May.
We're seeing some movement there in the light heavyweight division.
And I'm still excited for this fight, just as excited as I was when it was announced previously.
Yeah.
I know we've given our thoughts on it, but I'm a big believer in Yuri Prochazka, the former Ryzen light heavyweight champion. He came over, looked fantastic against Volkan Oezdemir, but we haven't seen him since, and that was UFC 251.
That was a while ago.
So it's almost, we're coming near a year for him here, but if he wins this fight over Reyes, he might be next.
Yeah. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that was the prelim headliner, right? Him and Volkan.
I think so.
And now he's main eventing in his second UFC fight on a fight night.
And I mean, Dominic Reyes might be carrying the weight in terms of name value for the casual fan base.
This is no easy fight for Dom.
Dom
or
Reyes,
for Jiri. I'm not,
Dominic Reyes had a very weird 2020.
Yeah.
Because he technically went 0-2.
Yeah.
But he fought in 2 title fights. The first one was against maybe the greatest fighter of all time.
And we both agree he won.
And I thought he won.
Yeah.
And then he fought Jan Blachowicz, who I continue to count out of these fights.
Yeah.
And Jan kind of dominated him.
He did.
And so he's in a weird spot because he's technically lost back-to-back fights. So if you lose another one, now you're on a skid.
And he was undefeated, by the way, coming into those 2 fights.
So then if he loses to Jiri, that's a skid at that point.
Yeah.
A 3-fight skid. And regardless of your thoughts on the John Jones fight, all you see is that red, that L.
Yep.
And it's going to be tough to come back from that at least right away. So definitely a lot of pressure on him in this fight, but for Yuri, I think it's all gas, no brake. I don't see much of a... If you lose this, you lose to one of the best guys in the world and only your second UFC fight.
Exactly.
I really don't see any negative for him here, and I think this is a great fight for him to take, even if he loses, truthfully.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I'm going to go... Never mind. Screw it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go as far as say the winner of Smith and Crute will fight the loser of Reyes Prochazka. I'm just going to say it 3 months out.
Okay.
We'll see if it turns out to be, but I'm just going to say
we'll try to remember that.
Yeah. Anyway.
Moving on to the rest. We got big announcements outside of the UFC.
Bellator said, mic drop.
Bellator.
I'm just going to be honest. Bellator just left it all out.
Yeah, so March is obviously going to be a huge month for the UFC.
And April? Well...
belongs to Bellator
Yes,
right
it
now.
does.
I don't even know where to start here. So basically,
Let's go in order.
they released basically all their upcoming fights. They're partnering with Showtime.
Yep.
Showtime will now be broadcasting all Bellator events.
Yep.
Is that correct?
So we went from free Bellator in 2020 to Showtime in 2021.
And for the United Kingdom, for you fans out
Yep.
there,
BBC.
not to be outdone, BBC will now be the exclusive, what would you call it? The exclusive home of Bellator MMA. So you'll be able to watch those fights on, I believe it's, BBC Player is what it's called. So they're making big moves out here. The UK is they're so freaking, like, just dedicated MMA fans. But it always feels like they get kind of slighted when it comes to...
The start times.
Start times is a big one. But even after that, it's more just like... I feel like it's just a very untapped market still. Even though...
With all the passionate fans over there.
Even though you kind of have these efforts to increase over there, I think Bellator's done a better job than even the UFC of kind of getting into that market. And this is
just like they went over to Paris. They were the first ever event there.
And this partnership with BBC is another step in that direction. Mm-hmm. But for the fight announcements, April 2nd, the featherweight World Grand Prix semifinal.
Yeah.
It's for the belt.
Yeah.
Pitbull versus Sanchez 2.
Yes. We love rematches.
Yeah. So
now Pitbull, he's coming for everybody's neck. He's calling out everybody in the UFC.
Yeah.
He's saying, now listen, I KO'd Michael Chandler, and he just did that to Dan Hooker. I'm the best lightweight in the world.
This is Patricio Pitbull. Let me
yeah, there's two Pitbulls.
Yeah, so Patricio's the double champ in Bellator. He's the featherweight.
So this is the featherweight championship.
So featherweight Grand Prix still going on. It's been going on for a while.
Man.
So this is the semifinal. This isn't even the finals yet.
But he's defending the belt.
Yeah, that's what you do. Because winning, that's just the way it works.
Yeah, it's okay.
Because
I'm not used to these Grand Prix tournament things.
So here's, I know we don't have the actual bracket in front of us. We're looking at just this promo picture. So if Pitbull wins this,
he technically defends the title,
and another man wins his semifinal match, then you have a main event, a final in the Grand Prix.
Even though
Patricio Pitbull versus
whoever.
AJ McKee.
AJ McKee. Is that really who's on the other side?
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. That's a huge fight.
Yeah.
AJ McKee's wow.
And not for Sanchez to be overlooked here, but it's just that fight you can tell is what they want.
Yeah.
And that's what I want.
Oh, man.
But Patricio is such an animal. I have a hard time believing that he's going to be out-crowned here, truthfully.
Yeah.
We're
learning.
Getting deeper in the Bellator, but that Patricio is...
he's really one of the faces of their organization.
Yeah, he's really rose to that. He pretty much took Michael Chandler's kind of spot at the top there.
That's true.
Next announcement. So that's Bellator 255.
Yeah, so now you're going to have to change some stuff here. This is a mess.
So... Bellator 256.
Man.
Friday, April 9th. We got a 8-man light heavyweight Grand Prix. Yeah. So we're going to tell you our
256.
So this is the quarterfinals.
Yes.
The first round of this Grand Prix.
Holy shit.
You get Ryan Bader,
I need to see
the former light heavyweight champion, going up against Lyoto Machida for the second time.
Yep.
An awesome fight there. And then on the other end...
This is crazy,
you
man.
guys. You really keep testing me with these names, don't you? Well, first, Corey Anderson.
Say the easy one
Corey
Anderson. And
then you got Dovletazan Yagshimuradov.
Perfect.
I'm sorry if I butchered it.
That was perfect.
But that is going to be happening on April 9th. That's the one side of the bracket. So the winners of those two will be facing each other in the semifinal.
Then
Bellator 257 the next week.
April 16th.
Friday, April 16th.
The champ.
Your co-main event.
Oh my God. Okay, listen.
This is a co-main event.
I have chills throughout my body.
A co-main event. Anthony Rumble Johnson going up against Yoel, the Soldier of God, Romero.
That fight's happening, and it's happening in Bellator.
And it's the freaking first round of the Grand Prix.
You know that video, Paul Rudd? Who would have thought? not me. Yeah, that's me when I saw this happen. This is perfect. Freaking Bellator, man. They knew they gave the people what they wanted. Mm-hmm. That's a co-main.
It's a co-main, and it's the first round of the Grand Prix.
It won't get out of the first round.
I don't know about that.
Someone's going night-night. I'm so excited to see Rumble back. But he's fighting Yoel Romero.
That fight's going to be wild.
Woo! And the winner of that will fight
the winner of the main event
for
the light heavyweight title. Vadim Nemkov, the man who
dismantled Ryan Bader.
And probably still a very underrated name when you go to just like MMA fans in general.
What a great kickboxer he is.
And he's got a rematch with Phil Davis, another UFC veteran, another tough contender at the light heavyweight division.
Is that 6 out of 8 in this are UFC veterans? Wow. Look at
So
that.
let me start here before we get into even the final. That's not even all. But let's talk about the Grand Prix for a second.
Okay.
So early thoughts here. I've heard some chatter online. Some people have been complaining about Rumble and Romero being paired up in round 1.
I'm not surprised.
I think there's a reason for this. So for one, they want to make sure that fight happens.
For sure.
2, I think there's no coincidence that they're on the same side as Vadim Nemkov, because here's why. Whoever wins out of Rumble and Romero will likely, if Vadim wins like most people probably think he will over Phil Davis, they would have a semifinal matchup with Vadim Nemkov. If Nemkov wins over Rumble or Romero, he gets that rub.
Mm-hmm. That's how good he is.
Especially if he beats the shit out of him like he did against Ryan Bader.
Yeah.
Those are both bigger names than Bader.
Yep.
But still just as good as Ryan Bader, at least at light heavyweight.
For sure.
I mean, we'll see with Yoel, but... So I think that's what they're wanting here is... I early favorite, I'm going to stick with Vadim Nemkov. I think the guy's just on another level.
Yeah.
I guess since I don't know if we'll do a preview for these, but...
We might have to mess around and do something.
But early thoughts...
Early
thoughts, I think I'm going Rumble over Romero.
I was about to ask you your thoughts on the fight.
I'm going to go Corey Anderson. I'm going to go Ryan Bader and Vadim Nemkov. Those are probably all going to be the favorites, but that's just what's pulling at me.
And now, so here's how the tournament will play. So these are all April. Then the semifinals will occur in July.
Right.
Final and the championship, the granddaddy, October.
Wow.
So
that's my early predictions, and then I would probably go as far to say I think Ryan Bader gets the win over Corey Anderson, and I think Vadim Nemkov would beat Rumble.
Corey and Bader's an interesting fight.
It really is.
I think that's a fun fight.
I just think it comes down to I think Bader's chin holds up better than Corey Anderson's.
I think he would have the advantage on the feet, but he's a great wrestler, and that's of course Corey's strong pursuit. So. Yeah.
So that could be a fight like Colby Usman, where it got two guys that are wrestlers just stand and bang.
Anthony Johnson and Yoel Romero, man.
Wow. Who would have thought?
It's crazy. Shout out to Bellator.
Do you have any early thoughts, like maybe early predictions?
Let me go ahead and I'll go. I'm going to go Bader. I'm going to go upset in the Anderson fight. I'm going to try and say his name. Yagshimuradov. Yeah. Close enough. I think he gets the upset over Corey Anderson.
Cool.
I'm going to go Nemkov. He looked incredible against Bader, man. My gut is telling me Johnson, but we've seen Yoel more.
I know.
But I'll go Johnson.
His last fight was the Adesanya fight. Do you really count that?
Oh, that's true. I'll go Johnson, but I don't want to go past that. I'll wait till the other.
Yeah, I was just kind of talking, but we have another announcement here.
Yeah, we're not done with Bellator.
So 3 weeks after that is Bellator 258, Friday, May 7th. I'm loving the Fridays, by the way.
Yeah.
The Bantamweight World title's on the line. Juan Archuleta.
He's one of the baddest dudes, man.
Actually, he might be. Pitbull's definitely the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter, in Bellator. Mm-hmm. Archuleta might be number 2.
He's a freaking animal.
I mean, I know all we just said about Vadim, but he just won the belt. Archuleta is a dog. And I would love to see how he would compete with the UFC bantamweights.
Yep, I agree.
But he's defending against another UFC veteran, Sergio Pettis. A guy who really earned his way up. They've really Sergio really had to work his way to this title fight. Not a guy who just
come in and get it.
So I'm very excited for that. Those are all the announcements they've made.
Man.
They really just...
Good for Bellator.
I mean, they really just plopped their dick on the table.
Yeah, and really, the MMA Twitter, MMA community really came together in support of it, and it's so awesome for them, man. It really is. And like you said, these are on Fridays. Then we're going to have UFC fights on Saturdays. Okay. Oh, by the way, in April, one championship on TNT.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
And if you want to go in, moving on to the next one, PFL.
Another one.
Announced their heavyweight and women's lightweight divisions for their Grand Prix tournaments, whatever you want to call it. These will begin Thursday, May 6th. Heavyweight includes Mr. Fabricio Verdum,
former
as well
UFC
as
champion.
Justin Willis.
Former UFC heavyweight.
Mm-hmm. Women's lightweight.
Our girl.
There's one person to talk about here, and that's Kayla Harrison.
Yep. Clarissa Shields, not announced, not competing this year.
Probably a smart idea.
Yeah, I agree.
And just protect the investment because it's going to take her a minute to really
And she's out there with a great camp, Jackson Wink. She's got a whole year to get ready.
Yep. So awesome for them. I'm loving that all these different promotions have some huge announcements. Like we've talked.
It's awesome.
We've talked about Bellator now, PFL
and one,
and I know that was PFL we talked about before.
But we've got rising champions in the UFC now. Manel Cape. We just talked about Jiri Prochazka.
I'd like to see. I want to see what's next for Ryzen. Come on, you're the last of the elite here. I want to hear what you guys got coming out.
Love it.
But that's the end of the news.
The news.
Let's talk about fights.
We're doing a freaking pay-per-view again.
Oh yeah.
3 weeks later.
Yeah.
You kidding me?
And it doesn't get any slower from here.
That's true.
We got 2 pay-per-views in March. But before we get into that,
don't sleep on it. Don't do it.
So we decided that we're going to do 6 fights.
Yeah. Now, I must add, you guys know how the notepad works, right? The main card fighters get the notepad. We are discussing one prelim fight. I won't be as detailed on my end, but we can't not talk about it.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be fight of the night. I'm calling it right now.
Well, it's not on the main card.
I'm saying
in general.
I'll give my fight of the night prediction for main card.
You're
but the real life fight of the night, what the UFC does, this is your front runner in my opinion.
Cool. No, I don't disagree with that. So the first fight we're going to talk about is actually the headliner of the early prelims. Which is crazy to me.
That's unbelievable.
And usually we didn't really want to do this in the past of like kind of bouncing around the prelims because we didn't want these fights ahead of them to feel like they're not important. It's just, Ricky Simon, Brian Kelleher, 2 guys that we are very well versed in and we just know quite a bit about. It just made sense.
It's a great fight.
So Ricky Simon, Brian Kelleher at featherweight. That's the first fight from the early prelims that are going to be on ESPN Plus and UFC Fight Pass. Prelims on ESPN and ESPN Plus. Main card on ESPN Plus pay-per-view. So into our main card. We start at lightweight. We had some shakeups.
Yeah, we did.
Originally going to be Pedro Munoz, Jimmy Rivera.
Yep.
That fight has been scrapped.
Unfortunate.
So unfortunate.
That was a big
originally replaced on the main card with Andre Ewell.
Yep.
And Chris Gutierrez.
So Andre Ewell was supposed to fight last week, got postponed because he didn't get medically cleared. Then he got scheduled for this week, and they were going to put him on the main card, which was surprising to me. But then they ended up bumping it back for
the legend fight.
Love it. So happy.
We were wondering why this fight wasn't on the main card, and the UFC said, all right.
The people have spoken, and they listened.
Bobby Green going up against Jim Miller.
Good for them.
2 guys that maybe just... And, it's a legend fight, but it's 2 guys that we think are legends that don't quite get that respect. Mm-hmm. Especially for, like, Jim Miller.
Yeah, man.
Jim Miller's been doing it forever.
He's had 38 UFC fights.
God. That's crazy.
23 wins. One of the all-time leaders in both categories.
Hold on. I got to take a second.
38.
After that, at middleweight, Maki Pitolo versus Julian Marquez.
That's a banger.
It really is.
That's a
fight. That's a fight nobody's gonna know.
Coconut bombs.
That's
that's Mackey's name. No, I love it.
It sounds like coconut bombs. Third fight, middleweight. Kelvin Gastelum is back, going up against Ian Heinisch.
I love that fight. We talked about that so long ago, and it's finally here.
Co-main event, women's flyweight. I got to give a shout.
She's back.
Overtime heroics. Go support them. Dominic Salee wrote a beautiful
Oh.
article breaking down this particular fight, your co-main event. Macy Barber, she's back.
The future. That's what she's been
Another
dubbed.
person who's back. She's been out for over a year at this point with
the torn
an
ACL.
Going up against Alexa Grasso, another good prospect in this division.
Hey, she looked so good in her 125-pound debut
Against
last
Ji
year.
Yeon Kim.
Yes, man. Oh, my goodness.
And our main event for the welterweight title,
Third time's the charm.
Kamaru Usman
Tell him.
defending against Gilbert Burns. Dorino. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Woo! But until we get to those, we got to start with the early prelims.
The first fight of the day.
Third fight.
Oh, my bad. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Ricky Simone versus Brian Kelleher. Do you want me to start or do you want to start?
Yeah, so I don't have my nitty gritty. So I'll let you take the reins here. I'll feed off of you. Let's go.
Okay, so Ricky Simone is 17-3. He's got 5 wins via knockout, 3 wins via submission. That leaves him with 9 via decision. He's lost 1 fight by any way you can. 1 by knockout, 1 by submission, and 1 via decision. He's been fighting in the UFC for a while, and some of his wins and losses kind of speak to that. His very first fight in the UFC, a guillotine win over Marav Davalishvili.
Unbelievable.
Then you go into UFC 234. He got a unanimous decision win, and what I believe ended up being a fight of the night contender against Randy Yahya, who was a guy that, if you remember from that card, Glover Teixeira versus Thiago Santos won fight of the night in his fight there.
Oh, yeah.
He also has a split decision win over Ray Borg. That was on the Anthony Smith Glover Teixeira card from this summer. Very good fight there.
He's very active.
He does have 2, I would say, losses that we can talk about.
The notable losses.
The big one's going to be that TKO loss to Uriah Faber. That happened 46 seconds into the fight.
And I believe that was his homecoming in Sacramento for Uriah Faber.
Yep, it was.
Yep.
And then he had a unanimous decision loss to Rob Font later that year, so he dropped 2 in a row. But he's on a 2-fight win streak now. His last win coming on, actually,
he looked damn
he was on
good.
the Chiesa Magni
Yeah,
card.
it just happened.
I didn't realize that, but he got an arm triangle choke over Gaetano Perello.
He looked incredible.
So Ricky Simone is a guy that kind of flies under the radar a lot.
Cardio machine.
Yeah. Dude just
Wrestling,
very solid. Just so solid.
Top level.
And man. I really think we haven't quite seen him reach his full potential. I hope that's the case because I'm tired of seeing him being put on these early prelims and shit.
And he pulls off a damn good mullet.
He does.
Right?
And the other side of the octagon, you got Brian Kelleher. He's 34 years old.
Boom.
A veteran. 22-11.
He's always in good fights.
8 wins via knockout. 10 wins via submission. Only 4 via decision. He's in those 11 losses. 1 has came via knockout. 6 via submission. 4 via decision. He's got some notable names too.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the weird thing. So at one point in his career, before he came into the UFC, he had a record of 10-7.
No kidding.
But once he did get on a big win streak, a 7-fight win streak, or 6 fights, to get him into the UFC.
Oh, okay.
So he was 16-7 when he came in. His debut was against Yuri Alcantara, and he got a guillotine choke win there at UFC 212. He's also got wins over a unanimous decision win over Renan Barão, a guillotine choke win over Ode Osborne, a guy who just made a big name for himself. And lastly, on the Overeem versus Sakai card, he did get a guillotine choke over Ray Rodriguez. As far as notable losses, a armbar loss to Marlon Chito Vera, a knockout punch. I remember watching this live with you against John Lineker.
That was bad. Yeah.
And he's got a unanimous decision loss to Cody Stamann.
Yeah.
So he's fought a lot of really good guys. Not quite came out on top in the majority of those, but
always exciting fights.
Exciting fights. And even that John Lineker fight, he was winning that fight, if I remember correctly, before just the lights got put out.
Yeah, he got put out.
So what do you think here, Dom? You got the submission specialist in some ways in Kelleher, but he's also lost a lot via submission. While Ricky Simone kind of a guy who he kind of wins the fight anyway that's open to him.
He's going to bring that freaking pressure so much. He's going to press Kelleher up against the cage. Kelleher's going to have to be on his horse. He's going to have to be moving Because if Simone gets him up against that cage and gets wrapped around for the double leg, he's going down. And I think if it goes to the ground, this is going to be all Ricky Simone and potentially pulls off a submission victory.
Really?
Yeah, I think Simone's going to get it done. He looked so incredible at that UFC Fight Island 8 card. And I think he's going to keep the momentum going again. What was that, a month ago? Less than a month ago.
Yeah.
So I'm going Ricky Simone here. I think it's going to be a barn burner of a fight. I think he gets it done. 3rd round submission. Very fun fight. I think it's going to be awesome.
So you're going against a man with 10 submission wins.
Mm-hmm.
He does have 6 submission losses. And you know what? So I'm actually going to agree with you. I'm going to go with 3rd round submission win for Ricky Simone. I really like the improvements I've seen in his grappling.
I love watching him fight.
His last fight really showed a lot to me. Being able to get that submission in the 2nd round. What's one more round? What's a little more sweat? Right?
Yeah, Brian's so tough. That's why I think he does edge it out.
And I think overall this will be fight of the night.
Yeah.
I agree with you there.
But when we give our main card
we always do
breakdown,
fight of the nights for the main card.
Right.
So a great fight there. Now we're on.
Check that out though if you got ESPN Plus or Fight Pass.
Yeah.
I can't believe that's on the early prelims, but anyway.
On to the main card.
Pay-per-view.
This is where I'm going to let Dom take it away. Legend fight. Bobby Green, Jim Miller, take it away.
Well, Jim Miller's going to take me a while.
Yeah, I'm going to just take a break.
Okay. So the legend, Jim Miller, 32 wins, 15 losses, 1 no contest, 4 KO TKOs, 18 submissions, 23 wins, 14 losses, 1 no contest in the UFC. He's got wins over Dwayne Ludwig. Now, I wanted to say Dwayne because that is now TJ Dillashaw's coach, and that was from way back. He beat him via submission, so I had to point that out. He submitted Charles Oliveira. He got a submission over Melvin Gillard. He's beaten Joe Lozon twice, once via unanimous decision, once via split. He submitted Yancy Medeiros. He TKO'd Takanori Gomi, a decision win over Thiago Alves, and submitted Clay Guida. Notable losses. Literally, just listen to this resume of people. He beat Gray Maynard, these are losses. Lost to Gray Maynard, unanimous decision. Lost to Benson Henderson, decision. Got submitted by Nate Diaz. KO'd by Cowboy Cerrone. Lost the decision to Beneil Dariush. Got submitted by Michael Chiesa. Lost a decision to Diego Sanchez. A majority decision to the Diamond, Dustin Poirier. A unanimous decision to Anthony Pettis. Another decision to Francisco Trinaldo. Got KO'd brutally by Dan Hooker with a knee. Got submitted by Charles Oliveira, so they won. They each have a submission over each other. And then he lost a decision to Scott Holtzman. Out of his 22 finishes, 14 of those have came in round number 1. On the other end, Bobby King Green, 27 wins, 11 losses, 1 draw. He's got 8 KO TKOs, 9 submissions. He's 8-6-1 in the UFC. Notable wins against James Krause, TKO. Split decision over Josh Thompson. Unanimous over Clay Guida. Unanimous over Lando Venata. And then his most recent win was against Alan Patrick. That was via unanimous decision. Losses, Edson Barboza decision. Got KO'd by Dustin Poirier. We just talked about that on our classic pay-per-view review for UFC 199. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out because, Michael Bisping kind of watched it too.
Yes, he did.
Anyways, got a decision, a loss to Drakkar Klose, lost to Francisco Trinaldo as well via decision, and then lost his most recent bout to Thiago Moises, but before that was on a 3-fight win streak. 9 of his 17 finishes have came in round number 1. Noah, we can't wait for this fight. I'm so happy they put this on the main card.
That was a book that you just read off there. And I think the big thing for these guys, even though they're very much, in my eyes, legends, maybe more so for Jim Miller, but Bobby Green has definitely earned that status for me. Both of them had great 2020s.
Yeah, that's true.
Bobby Green, I know he's coming off a loss, but he went 3-1. And that was coming out of retirement.
Yeah.
Jim Miller, also coming off a loss, but another guy who, that submission win over Roosevelt Roberts was very impressive.
Mm-hmm. He still got it, man. He really
However, this is where this fight comes down to for me. If this fight gets to the ground, I'm going Jim Miller.
It's all Jim Miller. Oh, yeah.
But Bobby Green has he is not an easy guy to take down.
That's true.
And you can tell by this run of decisions he's been on that he's done a great job of keeping fights at a distance. Because when you do that, sometimes when you have fights at a distance, it's harder to land as clean as when you're close up, right? So the power in your shot is a little lost when you have to overextend. So he's done a great job of kind of just fighting his fight. When I say decisions, they've been great fights. It's just that's how he's been winning them.
Yep.
So I think Jim Miller's going to have a very hard time here closing that distance.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think you're going to see a lot of grappling attempts from Jim Miller. I think he's going to go diving for the legs at times. And it's just going to be, can Bobby Green win in those exchanges?
So does he?
I think he does. I think Bobby Green gets a decision win here. I think he continues that trend. I could totally see him even getting a finish. And if this fight gets to the ground, then I'm going to have a hard time believing that Jim Miller doesn't pull off a submission because he's still one of the most lethal submission artists in the UFC. But I think Bobby Green, he really found a very good game plan to run with in 2020, and I think that continues here.
And that fight with Moises that he just lost, so close.
So close.
Like could be on a 4-fight win streak here, you know?
Really.
And I agree with you. I think Bobby Green is going to win via decision. He has done a great job, as you mentioned, with managing that distance, picking his shots. He's a very technical boxer. He really is, and he's been looking really good on the feet, and he's going to be able to piece Jim Miller up on the feet enough to get the win. I don't doubt that Miller could maybe get him down at some point in the fight, but I just think if it does go to the ground, Bobby will at least be able to stay away from submissions. He was able to escape from submissions against Thiago Moises and get back to the feet and take it to a decision. I think he's going to be able to do the same here against Jim Miller.
Awesome. Moving on.
Coconut bombs.
So this is a fight with nicknames here.
I love it.
Apparently, Mackie Patolo, coconut bombs.
Yes, sir.
And then you got the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Both these guys have been on the podcast before.
Julian Marquez been on the podcast?
Yeah, I remember talking about the Cuban Missile.
Oh, yeah, I guess we did. That nickname did sound familiar. Yeah, so that's our fight here. Two guys who we've apparently talked about before. I remember Mackie Patolo. How do you forget a name like that? But I don't remember coconut bombs. But I'm going to let you break these guys down because obviously I need to freshen up.
This fight's awesome. I think this is going to be a really fun fight. So Julian's 7-2, 6 KO TKOs, 1 submission, 7 for 7. Sound the alarm. Woo woo. That's 100% finish rate. He's 2-1 in the UFC if you count his win on the Contender Series, which, if you're a veteran of listening to the podcast, we count those. That win on the Contender Series was against Justin Sumter. That will not be the last time you hear Justin Sumter's name in this podcast. Just be ready for that later. And then his technical win in the UFC. Oh, I just messed up my thing. I apologize. Mackie beat Justin Sumter. My apologies. Julian beat Phil Hawes. As a matter of fact, on the Contender Series. Sorry, I got ahead in my notes.
Phil Hawes, who looked incredible at UFC 254.
And Julian KO'd Phil Hawes on the Contender Series. Then comes in and beats Darren Stewart via submission. And Noah, check this out. Are you ready for this one?
What is it?
He beat Matt Hamill.
Yeah. I was wondering if that was the Matt
Hamill. It is the Matt Hamill.
OH.
IO.
But he lost.
Combate America's Empire Rising in 2016 TKO'd Matt Hamill.
That's the promotion that Tito Ortiz has a big hand in now.
Yeah, and fun fact, the only man to beat John Jones.
Yes.
Technically, Julian Marquez is the best fighter in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. Notable losses, only one of the two, and that was against Alessio Di Chirico, who just brutally KO'd Joaquin Buckley just a few weeks ago, and he lost that via split decision. So this man is on a mission right now. The Cuban Missile is on a mission.
The Cuban Mission Crisis.
Hey, 4 of those 7 finishes in the first round.
Yeah.
Now, Mackie Patolo, here's the win against Justin Sumter on the Contender Series. That was a TKO. Again, not the last time you hear Justin's name on this podcast episode. Then he TKO'd Charles Byrd. And then his losses, Darren Stewart lost to him via submission, and then lost to Impa Kasagane via unanimous decision. Mm-hmm. Obviously, both those guys, super tough, been putting on really good performances. We know what happened in Impa's last outing, but a very fast-rising prospect. Yeah. We believe in Impa here on this podcast. 6 of his 10 finishes have came in the first round.
This is a tough one to judge, in my opinion, because Patolo has the greater, I guess, high-level experience, because he even had a run in Bellator. He had a one-fight run.
Yep.
So you have that, and then you go to the UFC, where he started on the Contender Series. Won his fight there, had 4 fights since then.
Yeah.
He's went 1-3.
Yeah.
Now, Darren Stewart, Impa Kazaganai, those are not, those aren't easy opponents. Yeah. But then you look at Marquez, and you see that he beat Darren Stewart. Mm-hmm. He beat Phil Hawes, who looked incredible in his last fight. And even a guy like Matt Hamill, I don't care how old he was at the time, that's still an impressive win. The loss to De Chirico looks better, since Chirico did just have that.
And again, that was a split, So
yeah, and De Chirico before that was on like a big skid, so I'm still unsure of him. But this is a very tough fight. If you want to go stylistically, Marquez 6 TKOs, 1 submission, so you know that he's going to want to keep this fight standing. Maki Pitolo, 13 wins, 7 via knockout. I have a good feeling that he's going to want to do the same.
It's the bombs, baby.
My question for you is, if this fight goes to the ground, who do you think has the advantage here? Because there's less known about Marquez's ground game, especially with only the 1 win there. I'm leaning Pitolo, but I just have a hard time believing this fight even gets there.
This fight will go to the ground because someone's getting knocked down on the ground. That's the only time this fight's going to the ground. This is going to be a freaking brawl, in my opinion. I guess I did forget to mention, but you kind of covered it. Mackie is 13-7. I totally skipped over his record. And then off of those 7 KO TKOs, he does have 3 submissions. But again, everything I've seen of Mackie so far in the UFC, he's standing and banging.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a really good fight. I'm going upset. I'm going Pitolo. Okay. I think Marquez is the favorite going into this fight, again, with a record like that and all 7 wins via finish. I'm going Maki Pitolo. I have a hard time saying this fight's going to go to a decision, so I'm going to mess around. I'm going to have a little fun. I think a coconut bomb's going to land in the first round. KO, TKO, Maki Pitolo. Put me down for it. Right there.
Big bounce back for him.
Let's do it.
I think it's going to be a bounce back on the other end. I'm going the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Cuban Mission Crisis. He bounces back, and I'm going to go with the second round KO TKO win over Maki Pitolo. I think Pitolo will be able to. I think you'll have a big feeling out process there in round 1, but I think round 2 a missile lands.
Hey, this fight's going to be a banger.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. Low key fight of the night contender, but I ain't going to go there yet.
Yeah.
Third fight. This might be the hardest fight for me to judge on this whole card. And that main event is tough. But this fight is probably the hardest one for me to judge. You got Kelvin Gastelum, who, I won't say it because I'm going to let you cover it, but he's going up against Ian Heinisch. And there's an elephant in the room with Kelvin Gastelum here, but go ahead.
Man, so Kelvin is 15-6. It's kind of crazy that that's his record, but we're going to get more into that. So 6 KO TKOs, 4 submission victories. He's 10-6 with 1 no contest in the UFC. He's been fighting top notch ever since he came off of the Ultimate Fighter. He's got wins against Rick Story via split decision, submitted Jake Ellenberger, TKO'd Nate Marquardt, has a decision win over Johnny Hendricks, TKO'd Tim Kennedy, 1 punch KO'd Michael Bisping, and then got a split decision over Jacare Souza. Notable losses, though. He's lost to the former champ Tyron Woodley via split decision. Lost a split decision to Neil Magny. Got submitted by Chris Weidman. Lost in an absolute all-time classic against Israel Adesanya for the interim middleweight championship. It was in the top 10 list. Unbelievable fight. And then a third split decision loss in the UFC. That was to Darren Till in Till's middleweight debut. And then most recently, very odd performance from Kelvin, man. But he got submitted by Jack Hermanson very early on in the first round. Within a minute.
It was with a heel hook.
Yeah, via heel hook submission to Jack Hermanson. He's coming into this fight on a 3-fight skid, which is very odd for Kelvin. I will just say 5 of his 10 finishes have came in the first round. But again, keep that in mind. He's coming in on a 3-fight losing streak. We're not used to seeing this from Kelvin Gastelum. For Ian, he's 14-3, 5 KO TKOs, 2 submissions, 4-2 in the UFC, if you count the win on the Contender Series, which we do. He's got wins over Justin Sumter. There he is, number 2 on the appearance. Another Contender Series loss for Justin, but for Ian, he got the KO victory. In the UFC post Contender Series, he got a decision win over Cesar Ferreira, got a decision victory over Antonio Carlos Jr., and TKO'd Gerald Meerchart. Losses: Marcus Perez back at LFA 22 in 2017. That was via submission. Lost a decision to Derek Brunson, and also lost a decision to Omari Akhmedov. 6 of his 7 finishes have came in the first round. I'm just going to come out with my pick really quick and just say it first. Okay. I think Ian Heinisch is going to win. I really do.
So, let's break this down.
Let's do it. Okay.
Did you want to finish your prediction? Did you want to say how?
I just wanted to get out my winner first. I'll go into how at the end. But.
So, Ian Heinisch is a guy who's kind of hung around that 10 to 15 for a while now. He actually just recently got his ranking back. He's 15 now.
Yeah.
So he was kind of out, probably due to that 2-fight skid. He went on to Brunson and Omari Akhmedov. But he did bounce back.
Big losses, by the way, too.
Yeah,
those guys.
And then he bounced back to Gerald Meerchart with a big TKO win, about a minute 14 in. So he's on a big high right now, but we haven't seen him since June.
Yeah.
Then you got Kelvin, who...
Oh, still only 29 years old, man. Crazy.
This is my feelings about Kelvin Gastelum right now. I keep waiting to see that guy who took Israel Adesanya to the absolute limit.
To the deepest of waters.
Yeah, that fight was incredible. To me, I had a lot of doubt in Kelvin's ability against Adesanya in that fight. And to see just a guy who really threatened with the grappling. And, he's not a guy he's not necessarily like... He's very much a jack of all trades, right?
Yep, I agree.
And I guess Adesanya is he's an elite level striker, but pretty untested when it comes to the ground. So that fight hardly went to the ground outside of knockdowns.
Yeah.
But Kelvin was able to threaten with it, and therefore able to land very cleanly on Adesanya many times in that fight, and nearly dropped him a couple times.
Yep.
However, since then, it kind of appears that maybe that fight just revealed a lot about Kelvin since then, and maybe he's a bit more one note.
Maybe that just took so much out of him.
It just seems that with the Darren Till fight and the Hermanson fight, the Hermanson fight's a weird one, but let's start with the Darren Till fight. His game plan was very much the same that it was against Adesanya. He was very much looking to close that distance, threaten with the takedowns. However, he had he actually shot quite a bit in that fight.
Yeah.
And he had no luck against Darren Till. Not that Darren Till's
to Till's credit, right?
Not that Till's an easy guy to take down, but just some pretty poor attempts at times. When the fight was standing, it's very much the same thing. He'll throw the leg kick, he'll throw the left hand. It's his striking, for as much credit as it seems to get, it's very simple. It's very simple, and it's a bit, when you have a simple game plan in that way, at times I think it can be coming off like telegraphed.
Right.
Because people just look at it and go, okay, watch out for maybe the right leg kick, left overhand, and then you'll be okay.
Yeah.
So in that way, I'm worried that he's became a bit one note. The Hermanson fight's just weird. Because he got out of the submission. And then he got right back into it and got caught in a heel hook. And I don't know if that was just a lapse in judgment, maybe motivation not super high. It's, there's a lot unknown about that.
And that was a huge fight for both guys.
But I guess when you look at Kelvin's submission defense has not been great anyways. He had that submission loss to Chris Weidman, who, don't get me wrong, was great on the ground. Hermanson, another killer on the ground. But then for Ian Heinisch, he is kind of the more...
He's well-rounded. Good wrestler.
Yeah, he's
both
well-rounded.
Guys great wrestling. That's what's intriguing to me.
What's funny is both these guys have more wins via knockout, but I feel like they're just as talented on the ground, if not more so.
I think this is a very balanced fight, stylistically.
I do too.
It really is.
And a part of me just keeps wanting to see that Kelvin come back.
But will we?
But will we see it again? I mean, he's only 29, but another loss here, and
I think Ian's coming. With some motivation,
Ian's
man,
good.
to really crack in.
He's good. This is look, those losses to Brunson and Akhmedov are in the back of my head because it's his toughest matchups.
And he came out short end on both.
And both of them were pretty decisive, especially the Brunson one. So I'm going to go Kelvin Gastelum.
I'm curious to see how.
I'm going to go via decision.
Okay.
I'm going to go via decision. I think Kelvin's going to have an easier time getting this fight to the ground if he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Ian's not so good of a striker that Kelvin can't hang with him. This isn't like the Darren Till or Adesanya. This is a step back in terms of striking. But Ian Heinisch is also not as good of a grappler as Jack Hermanson.
Yeah,
I think in that way, this is like a step back in all the ways that Kelvin has lost previously. So if he doesn't win here, there's going to be a lot more that we're going to have to question on Monday's
4-fight skid it would be.
Monday's episode is going to be very interesting if he loses this. I'm going Gastelum. A lot of this might be false hope, but I still think Kelvin's
you'd love to see him bounce back.
I keep thinking he's got something left. I think Ian would be a good test to see that he still has it.
And to just kind of show where Kelvin is.
Yeah.
And, the same for Ian. I am going Ian, as I mentioned. I'm going decision here for Ian Heinisch. Again, I think he's coming. I think he's coming with some extra motivation. He's wanting to be active. He wants to get that one big win. Like you mentioned, the two biggest fights of his career in the UFC, both coming up on the short end, very decisive, both of them.
It's just apparent that his grappling weaknesses are, those guys who can kind of hold you down, Brunson, Akhmedov.
Yeah, because he's such a great offensive wrestler, but then defensively seemed to get handled convincingly against.
So it's like maybe it's when he's on his back, he's just not quite the same guy.
And I think we see a majority of this fight on the feet. I wouldn't be surprised if both guys have a moment here where they kind of stun the other. I don't doubt that at all. Both guys have the power, but I think Ian's going to be able to just drag it out. If it goes to the ground, I am intrigued. I'm interested to see how both guys will fare. But overall, I just think Heinisch is going to have the answers, and it's more so just what I've seen from Kelvin recently. It's worrisome. It is. So I'm going Ian in an upset again.
All right. We move on.
Co-main
event. Macy Barber, Alexa Grasso. This one should be easy for you because you did a whole damn article on it.
Yeah, I got it all laid out for us here. So Macy is 8-1, 5 KO TKOs, 2 submissions, 7 out of 8 via finish. You don't see that high of a finish percentage for female fighters. So she's 4-1 in the UFC if you count the win on the Contender Series. She beat Hannah Cifers in her UFC official debut. That was via TKO. She became the first woman at the time to finish J.J. Aldrich. That was via TKO. And then made easy work of the submission specialist, Jillian Robertson, in the first round. That was via TKO as well. The lone loss on Macy's record was against the Happy Warrior, Roxanne Modafferi. That was via unanimous decision. In this fight, Macy did tear her ACL. She did get dominated all of round 1, and she did not have a torn ACL in round 1.
Right.
So I'm not taking anything away from Roxanne.
No.
But rounds 2 and 3, showed her toughness, and that's my biggest takeaway.
Can we just talk about the doctor in that fight who checked her knee and goes, "It's a slightly torn ACL. She's good."
Yeah, Joe Rogan said, "What is this? I've never seen this before. What is he doing?"
Like, how do you? What was that? A full examination? He just looked at her knee and he goes, "Yep."
This guy's a witch doctor. He just knows exactly what's wrong by feeling her knee. So Macy coming off the long layoff. That was in January, UFC 246 in 2020. So over a year since her last fight. Hopefully the knee is fully recovered. We're going to find out. And then that win on the Contender Series was against Jamie Colleen. That was a 3rd round TKO. 3 of her 7 finishes have came in the first round. Alexa Grasso, her second fight at 125 pounds. She's 12-3, 4 KO TKOs. She's 4-3 in the UFC. Don't let that record fool you because she's been in there with the best of them. Her UFC debut was against Heather Jo Clark. She got a win there via decision. She got a split decision over Randa Marcos. A big win over Karolina Kowalkiewicz, by far the biggest win of her career. And then in her debut at 125 pounds, she lost to beat Ji Young Kim. She looked incredible in that fight with Kim. Really showed off how great her distance striking is. And then losses, she did lose to Felice Herrig via decision. She got dominated, as does everyone, against Tatiana Suarez.
The female
Habib got submitted in the first round and then lost a very, very close fight. It was a majority decision to Carla Esparza in a fight that Alexa dominated in round 3. Pieced Carla and had her very hurt on the feet. but it was Carla's wrestling in rounds 1 and 2 that ended up getting her the victory there. All 4 of Alexa's finishes have came in the first round. I'm very excited for this fight.
Pressure's on.
I think we're going to see a stand-up war.
The pressure is on Macy Barber.
This is true. That's very true.
So, is she ready for that? This is the girl, you talked about this in your article. Mm-hmm. She had in her phone, she had, what was it?
She had a countdown timer on her phone saying what her time was to become the youngest UFC champion ever and dethrone John Jones' record.
Mm-hmm. So,
now that, of course, before the injury, she technically still is younger than John, but it's going to be very, very hard now to do that. But.
So it's obvious that this is a girl who's kind of who lives for these kind of moments.
She's so motivated and driven. Yeah. That's always my biggest takeaway from Macy.
Alexa Grasso is very popular.
And very quiet.
Yeah,
she's like a Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
She's a very popular fighter. She was at one time a very big prospect, due to her run in Invicta.
Yeah, undefeated
in Invicta. I just don't
Invicta.
think she's quite lived up to it in the UFC. Now, there might be new life. The Ji-Yeon Kim win was very impressive.
I love that performance.
No, it was a great win for her against a lower level opponent as of now. So this is definitely an intriguing fight. I think Macy's ready for the comeback here. I think she's very well motivated. I'm actually going to round 1.
No kidding.
KO TKO for Macy Barber. I think she comes back in a big way.
So this is fun. I really like this fight. I think this is going to be a stand-up war. I'm going to go ahead and say war. Fuck it. I'm going to say war. So Macy is so aggressive, and she's going to pressure. She's going to get in the dirty boxing range. That's where she finds her most success. For Grasso, distance striking, she's going to own this fight, in my opinion. And that's where it's going to be interesting. So who's going to be able to take advantage of their strengths more? I think with Macy's overall physical strength and just aggressiveness, she will be able to get the upper hand. I think she's going to pressure Alexa to the fence quite often. Potentially even wrestle. I don't think it would be a bad idea for her to actually manipulate, what the hell? Utilize some takedowns in this fight. That's what I was going for. But Grasso's no easy out. And as much as I'd like to think Macy can get a finish in her big comeback, I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to get a 3-round battle. I think she's going to pull out a decision in a fight that she may even lose a round potentially to Alexa. Because Macy has shown to be vulnerable on the feet a little bit at times if it's not in her range. And that range that she's uncomfortable in just so happens to be Alexa's strong suit. But I do think Macy's going to get the win.
Cool.
I love that fight. I think that's a very good fight. That's number 10 versus number 15.
I mean, hey, for all I know, man, I don't want to count out Grasso. I just think that you're running into this is kind of like the Chandler Hooker thing for me.
Yeah. Just
a super motivated, super well-prepared fighter. And, I don't think Dan Hooker's that much worse than Michael Chandler, that he got starched. I don't think Alexa Grasso is that much worse than Macy Barber. I just think you're running into Macy, who, for a year now, has had to hear all this shit about how...
and they were letting her hear it.
Yeah, she's not the future. She was cocky. She got dominated by, a lot of people don't respect Roxanne either.
Yeah,
that's another story. So a lot of people looking at you couldn't beat Roxanne. What does that...
And she's 22 years old.
So man. I think she's been listening to all that for this last year. I think you're going to come out and see a new type of Macy Barber. Very excited.
I can't wait for that fight.
Main event of the evening.
So we're about to break this down, and I have no idea who I'm picking to win.
Yeah. I could be swayed based off of your points here.
Well,
Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. Before you break it down, we haven't said it yet. This is my fight of the night.
I guess I haven't either, so this is the only one left.
Fight of the night. Was that what you were going to go with?
Yeah, I was.
Okay. Which a lot of people might be surprised by that. Usman's kind of got this reputation now as being a boring fighter.
I'll tell you right now.
Disrespectful, man.
Yeah, I can't.
But I digress. Take it away. Do your breakdown.
Okay. Is this one of the tougher title fights we've had to break down?
Yeah.
So far in the podcast? Okay. Well, here we go. Kamaru Usman, 17 wins, 1 loss. 7 KO TKOs, 1 submission. He's undefeated in the UFC, 12-0. He's on a 16-fight win streak. The last time he lost was in 2013. It was his second professional MMA fight.
Yeah.
That's the last time he's lost. 16 in a row.
I bet that guy who beat him feels great.
Well, probably does. He's the best welterweight in the world, so he should. He's got wins over Leon Edwards. That was the last time that Leon has tasted defeat. That was via unanimous decision. Got a win over Warley Alves via decision. A decision over Sean Strickland. A KO'd Sergio Moraes. Decision over Damian Maia. A decision over RDA. That earned him the title shot. Then he dominated Tyron Woodley. Literally shocked us. I remember watching that fight being like, what is happening? Yeah. Every facet of that fight was all Usman.
You can say now, if you go back and watch it, like, wow, this fight ain't even that exciting. But fuck that, man. When we watched that live,
dominated
nobody saw that coming. No. Tyron had been the dominant champion before. Yeah. People were starting to put Tyron Woodley into like their top 10 of all time.
Yeah. Like, he needs to fight GSP to see who's the best.
He manhandled him for 5 rounds.
Unbelievable. And then the all-time classic fight with Colby Covington. Oh, yeah. Finishes Colby with a TKO in the 5th round.
Dropped him
twice. Broke his jaw. And then most recently at Fight Island last July, what was originally supposed to be Gilbert Burns, that was the first time, Jorge Masvidal stepped in on 6 days' notice. Usman accepts it like the champion that he is and dominates it for 5 rounds, gets the decision victory over Jorge. I have to shout out the lone loss on his record. I have to do it. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the best welterweight in the world is Jose Caceres. He beat Kamaru Usman at CFA 11 in 2013 via submission.
The best welterweight
in the world. You guys get what we're saying here. 3 of Kamaru's 8 finishes have came in the first round. This will be his 3rd title defense, 2 successful so far. And like I said, man, 16-fight win streak, 12-0 in the UFC. But former training partner, good friend,
former
teammate. These guys, I believe I read or saw somewhere, they have sparred plus or minus 200 rounds together. 200 rounds.
Really?
Woo! Gilbert Burns, 19 wins, 3 losses, 6 KO TKOs, 8 submissions, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion. He's 12-3 in the UFC with wins over Alex Oliveira via submission, a decision victory over Oliver Albin Moussier, who we just mentioned in the PFL Grand Prix on Monday. He's got a submission victory over Mike Davis. If you don't know who Mike Davis is, he just had a fight of the night just a few weeks ago at UFC Fight Island 8 against Mason Jones.
Yeah, he did.
Incredible fight.
Mm-hmm.
Also, decision win over Gunnar Nelson. TKO Damian Maia. That was
boom! And boom goes
and then he dominates Tyron Woodley. And here's the fun fact. Kamaru's scorecard against Tyron and Gilbert's are the exact same scorecard.
Wow, look at you whipping out these facts out of your ass.
Yes, that was right out. And then the notable loss, I should say, in the UFC was against Dan Hooker. This did come back at 155. That was a KO. He has 10 first-round finishes out of his 14. He's currently riding a 6-fight win streak, 4 of those coming at welterweight. He's undefeated at 170 pounds. Mm-hmm. I still don't know who I'm picking to win.
Okay. All right, let's slow it down.
I can't wait for this fight.
I'm always like, okay, let's slow it down. Because you just went on a rant.
Yeah,
when you do the breakdowns, and I love it. But we got to slow this down to really break this thing down appropriately.
Like molasses.
Like molasses pouring
out of my mouth. It's a Savannah accent.
Okay.
Shout out Andy from The Office, baby. Okay, let's break this down.
Kamaru Usman.
What's going to happen?
All right, let's...
Okay, all right.
So Kamaru Usman's route to winning this fight. Close the distance, get the clinch on. Takedowns, risky investment, right?
Yeah.
As good of a wrestler as he is, Gilbert Burns offers a lot of problems when it comes to submissions and his speed on the feet.
He's so fast.
He's so fast. I think this is the thing. If Usman can close that distance, if he can get Burns up against the cage, he's going to be the stronger man here.
Yeah.
So you get him up against the cage, kind of like how he did against Masvidal a lot. I know people make jokes about with the foot stomps, the dirty boxing. he did a lot of good body work on Masvidal in that
He
fight.
did, man. Kamaru looked good.
He was throwing a lot of knees to the body and stuff. Good elbows to the face. Great stuff.
Semi-vulnerable on the feet in the first. A little bit.
For like
A little.
20 seconds.
A little, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell that
Masvidal
Masvidal's a better striker than
posed a
Gilbert
threat.
Burns
Right,
now,
right,
in my
right.
opinion. But Gilbert Burns' striking very underrated. He's came a very long way.
Yeah.
And-
It's kind of similar to Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So, in some ways, like it's weird when I word it like that. It's like Gilbert Burns almost has more paths to victory. Because this is my thing. When you look at this fight, Gilbert Burns' route to victory is to stay on the outside, completely just continue to pick his shots as Usman kind of tries to jump in and close that distance. And then if the fight goes to the ground, be super active off his back.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, that's definitely going to be his routes.
So can I ask one question?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see in any version of this fight that Burns becomes the aggressor and looks like he did against Tyron Woodley, where he pressures Usman?
Now,
Do you think Usman lets that happen?
apparently,
I guess,
the word is that one of the big things that they were hitting in Burns' camp for this fight is that Usman doesn't do well having to fight off his back foot.
Backwards, yeah.
So I could
Maybe he
totally
does.
see a situation where that happens.
Man, when he pressured Woodley,
And I could totally see that. I just think that Usman is going to have a hard time even getting that clinch on Burns because he's so fast and fluid around the cage and on his feet. And I think if Usman gets too frustrated or careless, he could get caught bad early. I mean, this fight could really end any time, anywhere. That's what makes it so exciting to me is that I could see this fight going all 5 rounds. I could see it being a just unreal first round finish for either man.
I'm going to post something here. This is what I've been holding on to all episode.
Okay.
I've heard this been going around, and I have to say it on our podcast.
Right.
Again, these guys have been said to spar somewhere around 200 rounds with each other. They know the ins and outs of their game. Coming into this fight, one of these two men know who's going to win this fight. They know who's going to win this.
Okay, that's not completely true.
But think about it.
I like the quote. I like that. I like that idea. I definitely think, I will say,
man.
I don't know if this should play a factor, but on social media, does it not appear that Gilbert Burns is a lot more confident?
He seems...
Don't see a ton out of Usman right now.
So this is the other thing, too. For anyone who watches the countdowns for these pay-per-views, Usman's, mental fortitude going into fights, especially in a fight against Colby where all that shit talk, and he just put it all to the side. Mm-hmm. As Post Malone said, put that bullshit to the side, you know? And he's so good at that. And the mental side of things, he just doesn't let her bother him. And, of course, there's none of that going on in this fight. But then he's probably seeing all the chatter, and Burns he knows you, or Kamaru, he knows what you're going to do, blah, 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 blah. And he's not worried about none of that, man.
And who is Usman training with now?
He's with Trevor Whitman.
Right.
Justin
Awesome.
Gaethje.
An exceptional striking
he's
coach.
Really one of the best coaches there is right now.
Yeah.
He's so good. He's been training with Gaethje, Rose, all those out there in Colorado. So, he leaves a great camp in Henry Hooft, and he just moves to freaking Colorado with
And
Trevor
if there
Whitman.
was a deficiency in his game, you got to think it's the striking.
Right.
So now
he's working with one of the best in the game.
But it's a lot to ask out of him at the same time for one camp to improve his striking, as much as it probably needs to be in order to hang with Burns on the feet.
So it's interesting because technically, so again, in July last year, he was supposed to fight Burns. So he left, I forget what the gym is called, but he left Henry Hoof's camp with Burns and went to Trevor Whitman before the fight in July. It turns out he ended up fighting Masvidal, so it didn't really play out too much. So he's been there a while now, so that's just even more time to learn.
Oh, I know.
Oh, man.
I think this fight's going to go all 5 rounds.
I saw a tweet that said, does anyone think it's not going to go 25 minutes? And I was like, I guess I do kind of agree. I'm seeing 25 minutes. Either way, I really am.
Yeah, I just have a hard time seeing either one of these guys getting finished. Are there ways?
Who has the better chance to get a finish victory? Or is that just too hard of a question?
Gilbert Burns.
Okay. Just because of the method? You see submission
The
and
method.
KO.
It's not because Usman doesn't have the capabilities to finish the fight. Look at that Sergio Moraes. Fucking folded him like a lawn chair.
Yeah, that was bad.
Even the Colby fight. It's
Showed he
just
needed
in
deep
this
wall.
fight, I think Gilbert Burns' speed is just going to be too much. I think Usman at times will be able to close that distance, get him on the cage, foot stomps, body work, dirty
Well,
boxing.
I got one more question.
Oh,
Sorry, elbows too,
yeah.
right? I don't want to ask the question, but I'm going to pose it. Is there any chance that with all the knowledge these guys have on each other and so many strengths, they both have so many strengths that are shared between the two, is there any way they neutralize each other out so much that we get a semi-stalemate of a fight?
Well, with Usman, truthfully, and this is not meant to be a slight on him, but truthfully, there's always that chance with him because of how dominant he's been.
Yeah.
I could totally see, Burns just maybe not quite able to keep those angles up for 5 rounds, and Usman just really slowing the fight down with. And again, it's to his credit because he's able to win his fight.
Right.
That's always the chance you take because you get a fight like the Woodley fight was exciting because nobody thought he was going to dominate, but it was not. If you go back and watch it, it's not the most exciting fight. But then you have the Colby fight, which was fight of the year.
And then the Jorge fight.
And then the Jorge fight, which has really been the reason why a lot of people just are not soured on him.
Too.
And then you have fights like the one with RDA and Damian Maia. They weren't great, exciting fights either. But again, he was dominant. So there's always that chance. I just think this fight speaks a lot to like the Colby fight to me, and not that these two guys. I don't think they're going to cancel out. I think both guys are going to implement their strengths at times. I just think that neither one's going to quite be able to finish it. I think you get a 5-round war. Neither guy, I think, is going to necessarily get dropped.
Both will have moments.
Yeah. But I'm going Kamaru Usman via decision. I think this is kind of like his... If you want to compare it to John Jones, this is like his Gus fight. His first fight with Gus. I think it's going to be just a super close fight. A fight... people are going to be wanting this one ran back while Colby's waiting in the wings. All these rematches for Usman are going to be waiting in the wings, right? I'm going Usman. I think he's proven it at the highest of levels. I think I have more faith in his ability for 5 rounds to be able to avoid the punches and be able to clinch up. Get a couple takedowns.
And overall, just fight the smarter fight.
Yeah, I think it may be a 3-2, like 48-47, very close fight. But I don't think it's necessarily going to be fight of the year contender. Right. But I think it'll be a great fight.
I'll side with you. I think Usman, man, 16-fight win streak, just so dominant.
Truthfully,
in the UFC.
If he's going to lose anytime soon, like you would think this fight might be the one to do it.
Yeah, man, it's like if he gets past Burns here, who is there?
I mean,
who?
A rematch with Colby could. I really thought Colby was winning that fight before that 5th round, and I know that's what matters is he got finished. But I don't know. You know what? Not hot take, just maybe a bit far out opinion. I don't think this is the last time we'll see these two fight each other.
I like that. Everybody loves a storyline. And even though there's not hatred and shit talking and all that, there's something about...
It's a healthy dose of competitive...
Yeah, there's something about, teammates. He left their gym. They know each other. Their kids are friends.
This is confident competition at its finest.
Yeah, this is great. And,
so you're going Usman decision?
I have to go... I mean, he's literally one of the most dominant champions in the UFC.
Yeah.
He really is. Anybody that's undefeated in the UFC, I mean, holy shit, I don't care what their fights look like. Everybody loses. Not Kamaru Usman, and he's not going to lose this on Saturday night. I think we're going to be a great fight. We both predicted fight of the night here for the main card. I'm going Usman, and still his 3rd successful title defense.
Man, I'm actually surprised we both went the same way because this is very much a 50-50 fight.
Well, I remember even when this very first got announced, we're like, ooh, Burns, man. Like, we were very confident on Burns, and then just more time went on, and Usman got to fight again. We haven't seen Burns, and I don't know. I really like Usman with Trevor Whitman. Because if you were to pick a flaw in Usman's game, it would technically be the striking, right? And if he's with one of the best striking coaches in the game for nearly a year now, it could pay dividends, and it's going to pay dividends here. So
awesome.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that title fight.
Yeah, check out these fights Saturday night. Main card starts at what time?
10 p.m., baby.
10 p.m. I'm glad you always have that.
It's just the pay-per-views. I get lucky.
So 10 p.m. Saturday night, ESPN Plus. You can watch the prelims on ESPN or ESPN Plus, early prelims, ESPN Plus, or UFC Fight Pass. Monday, we will be recapping all of the fights we talked about here, along with anything else from the prelims. Prelim notables, as we're calling it now.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Stick out to us. And
Friday.
yeah, well, okay.
No Wednesday next week.
Yeah, so
we're
no
back
Wednesday,
to the.
so go ahead and do Friday.
Friday preview. Curtis Blades, Derek Lewis, baby. It's finally happening. Can't wait for that fight. We've broke it down already, haven't we? Or no, we got damn near.
Anthony Smith,
Devin Clark. It was the Smith, Devin
Didn't have
Clark,
a poster
right.
yet.
Yeah, we didn't have a poster for that one. So we're going to get Derek Lewis, Curtis Blades, a big heavyweight fight there. Some would say no more contender fight. John Jones would say otherwise, but you tell me what the heavyweights are doing. Can't wait to break that down, the big boys. So that's next week.
Mm-hmm. But until then, Dominic Salee, tell the good people where they can find you on social media.
Twitter, Instagram, at DSalee14. Find the podcast on Twitter, on Instagram, at BAJ_MMA podcast. If Michael Bisping can find us, you can too.
Yeah, I was going to let you set that up because I want to give a shout out to Michael Bisping.
Michael Bisping.
So I'm going to tell the story.
Of course.
So Wednesday's episode.
You need to go tune in first.
Classic pay-per-view review, UFC 199, Michael Bisping winning, shocking the world, 17 days notice, knocks out the champion Luke Rockhold in a rematch.
First live pay-per-view.
My first live pay-per-view. I think we did a great
in-depth
in-depth breakdown of all the shit that went on with that card.
Yeah, when we do the classic reviews, we don't just talk about the fights. We all the fun stuff.
All the behind the scenes, all of it. So there's a clip in there where
you can find it on the
we do
socials.
A very poor impersonation of Michael Bisping's classic post-fight press conference where he, said
Talking
some shit.
Yeah.
Said some shit to Luke Rockhold. Very funny stuff. So Dom's idea was to take that clip and make it our preview for that episode.
Of course.
And he's like, I'm going to tweet it at Bisping.
Why not? Shoot our shot.
And for me, I went, there ain't a chance in hell that Bisping's going to...
Especially the way we butchered it.
Yeah, because I've done much better with that quote, and I fucked it up.
I was shocked when you said 50K.
I fucked it up so bad.
Hey,
so
Michael didn't care.
But Michael Bisping, being the gentleman
that he is, not only saw our tweet, but listened to the clip, quote tweeted us and said, "Good effort, boys." So Michael Bisping.
That definitely speaks to this sucks, but I'm happy you guys
Shout
gave
out
it
to
a try.
Hey, I'm not tooting our own horn, but we like to have some engagement with the community. Shit. Michael Bisping gave us 9,000 views on that video clip on Twitter. So shout out Michael Bisping again. Good effort, boys. We tried our best.
Yeah.
We tried to make him proud.
I'm going to get that.
UFC Hall of Famer.
I'm getting it framed.
I'm getting that printed and framed for sure. So shout out to the count, Michael Bisping.
So follow us on Twitter and Instagram for more content like that.
Clearly.
As for me, if you go to my bio on Twitter or Instagram at @ntbaker_, you'll be taken to our link tree, which gives you the links to all the platforms that the podcast is on, along with the social media platforms. That includes the Twitter, the Instagram, the YouTube channel, and Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. It's all on there, baby. And there's a couple links for the Anchor page. First,
let them know.
Leaving a voice message. If you have a thought about an upcoming fight, a fight that just happened, a news story, or if you just want to say hi or tell us we're a piece of shit, you got 60 seconds to do it.
60 seconds.
And there's a link if you want to become a supporter of the podcast. That just provides us with a few dollars a month, and all that money goes back into improving the podcast, whether it be audio equipment or down the line doing a video podcast. So again, you can find all that if you go to my bio on Twitter or Instagram at @ntbaker_. But with that, we're out, and we'll see y'all on First Time on the Mic.